Thanks. Yeah, let's begin. I'm Wouter. I'm from Holland or from the Netherlands. Living there, yeah. Living there already all my life. And talking to you about voice today. Everybody has one, somewhat louder, some more pressured, but everybody has one. And voice is one of the new, as they call it, frontiers on mobile and in general in the space. And more generally, it's more about voice assistants. Voice assistants are a big thing these days. We have, of course, multiple platforms and multiple vendors who make them, but also the technology is spread out more and more. So why would you use voice? Now, they did a survey, or multiple surveys, which of course found out that on voice devices they use voice a lot. I don't know what the other 20% does with their echo, but I think I use it as a hockey puck or something. But 80% use voice. On mobile, it's around the 60%, and in cars, which already have like voice commands for like more than 15 years, although really bad at the beginning, it's like 70%. And what you see also on mobile is that like almost 90% of the world owns a mobile these days, I guess. But also you see that almost 60% of those mobile users use voice or have tried voice on their mobile, which is a really high number. So what do they use it for on their mobile? Of course, Apple Siri is the largest one now because it's, of course, Apple has the largest marketing budget, I guess. But also, I think it's one of the more convenient ones to use. Of course, Google Assistant is also very big on mobile. And we have Amazon and not mentioning Microsoft and Bixby there. So where do they use voice? Now, of course, like you saw already, the car is really one area to use it, but also the home is, of course, a very large percentage of where to use it. The other ones are like fun to watch, like if you're walking somewhere, you're going to use voice. I don't know how, but usually you type or do nothing at all. So, but how does this voice thing really work on mobile, but also on a voice system, but I'm talking about mobile here. Of course, I said, but we use machine learning. In the past, of course, we already had some voice, but it was not really machine learning then. But these days, we really use the power of machine learning, and it uses multiple sections of what you're seeing here, like neural networks. It has multiple algorithms. It uses classification to get your speech to text at first, then trying to get the intent, what you are saying and what you want to do, and then the last step usually is what action does it need to take, and sometimes giving speech back, but that all can also be text or something else. So the first step is getting your voice or something you say to the microphone into text, because text is more transferable than voice, and voice is large and usually. So what we do with machine learning is, or with natural language processing, NLP, is trying to get small parts of the word, getting small parts of sentence, getting the most smallest part there is, and those are called phonemes, and trying to categorize and getting the context also for those words. In English, I think we have 42 phonemes, so that's not a big number, but it is a lot. In Dutch, I think we have like 37, and the most I thought was Lithuanian at the moment. They have more than 70, so I don't think it really works well there, because the better you define and capture those phonemes, the better your speech-to-text is going to get. And also, of course, we have words that sound the same, like ate or eat, for example. Those are usually recognized to look at the context. So what is the sentence about? And then trying to figure that out and pick the right one for that sentence. The next one is getting the intent. That is a really difficult one still to do, also with machine learning. And what we do there is to build a neural network, usually with multiple algorithms, and try to calculate what the computer thinks is what the user is saying. So it will calculate like 50 or 100 different calculations or results, and then try to classify which one is the best one. In context, of course, which one is the best. And the latest one, of course, is the action. Is like we know now what the user wants, and then try to do an action which can be anything you want. And usually the voice assistants for these days have APIs, of course, and SDK, so you can do your own thing. But it can be anything you want. And of course, with the echo and etc., usually you get voice back, and that's the latest. Is also that's also a neural network which inputs text, because text is transferable, and then spitting it out in the right language and a linguistic model. So nice, all those machine learning tricks, but what can we as React developers do or use it for? At the company at Synapse Mobile Health, we have a product which is CliniCard, which is a medical help app, which helps patients to get their vitals. And what we saw is that what we are researched is that how can we use voice to input or get actions done by the user without a lot of complicated math. So first off is a warning that please don't use voice for critical parts. I don't know if it's going to work. The internet is gone, I guess. Here it comes, I hope. Come on. Maybe wait for a second. Come on. Let's see. He's not going to give today, I guess.
So change the internet and connect the phone to the speakers, okay?
Ja, wait so long.
Switch off and switch on.
And then I will disconnect. Yes.
And this is the password.
Anybody wants to connect to the screen?
Jesus, what password? The Q?
Yeah.
Fire off.
Here it is. I don't see it.
And we're going to do one more.
Open door.
Run voice command.
Open door.
Wrong voice command. Repeat that. I didn't understand that. Play on the floor.
Without visual, it's even better. I must say. Let's see if we can do it again with. That would be nice. And now we have no sound, of course. That's nice. No. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Repeat that. I didn't understand that. Play on the floor.
So, key point is, don't use it for anything crucial because it won't, yeah, as you see, it doesn't really comply with the real-world situations you have. So yeah, how can we use it for then? Now, one thing is, of course, the speech-to-text to fill text entries or to fill values. Another one is to invoke an action in your own application, which can be anything you want. Another one is invoke the app itself with the OS integration. And the last thing is giving some voice back for feedback, which can also be anything you type in that sense. So the first one is speech-text. It is natively available on every mobile OS these days. It is on device, so you don't need a network connection to do it. So that's really awesome. There are more than 40 languages supported these days. So it's also, I think, most languages in the Western world are supported. And the React community already had one really great solution for it, and it was React Native Voice, which uses the iOS speech recognition and the Android one as well. And let's see how that works. What we do, of course, is install it. It's a native module, so you need, with auto-link and polysil, you're done. Setting the emitter so you can get results. There are more functions like when it gets started or if there are errors, etc. Of course, remove them if you're done. And what I now do is on the result, I just print them out. Well, let's show it to you. And of course, start it with the language, because languages are really difficult to understand for systems to acknowledge which language it is. Usually, it's better to give the language you are going to use to the system, one of those 40+ languages. And at the end, I will stop it, of course, because we don't need it anymore. Now let's see if it works for today. I think React Native is the best conference in the world. It works. Almost. So, with a few lines of code, you already have your input. So, and of course, the most keyboards which you have on your mobile also have this functionality. But what we tend to do is to use it in areas which you don't have that keyboard, like numeral inputs or inputs where there's some decision making also, when you can give something back. Then then it's better, or not better, but I think it's a better solution to do it yourself. And of course, you can do custom-made as well, without, as here, you don't have to see any keyboard anymore. So, and it's really, like you see, it's really fast and really responsive to do as well. So the next thing is invoking in action. So you have some voice input, or maybe it can be text as well, which people type, of course. And then getting the intent for what the user is saying or what he's trying to do. For that, we use online services. There are a couple of them, like IBM Watson is a very big one, which does that for you. AWS has a service which does it for you, and even Facebook has one, which is with.ai, which which I'm going to use for the demo. It is also very language specific because, like the speech to text, it needs to know a lot about those languages, though. So these services don't do that much languages, I think around 10 these days. And what you need to do is set it up for your own app. So what you can do with AI is say, like, I want to know the location, and then it's the location. If somebody wants to know a location, then you put in every phrase you know about location, so where is the location, what is the location, etc. And then it will learn for your application, for your application. It will make a model, and then you can, with an API, you can call to that model with text, whatever text it is, and it will give you back the results, like with a confidence number, like this user is trying to get a location, or this user is trying to find a restaurant, etc. So let's see. Wait, I will first try, if I have internet, of course. If that works. Of course not. No, there he is. Not logged in, so I don't know. I think I used it or this one. Whatever. I think with AI has not the nicest looking interface, but it is the fastest way to do it, because it's just saying what do you want, and that's it. So, like here I was looking for location, so you can say where am I, and it will look up like, okay, this text has an intent for finding a location. So, and if I say something differently with location, like is this my typing is different. Is this my town? It will say, oh, I'm still searching for a location. So, in this way, you train a model for your application, and then you can use that in your app with. Oh, let's do not slow animations today. So what we have done there is more of the same, like getting the voice part. But more importantly, afterwards, fetching the with the text I found with the text speech to text, I push that to with AI, and then getting some results back with a confidence number. So you can see I want a confidence of higher than 0.9%. And of course, if it's a location, then he's going to fetch my location. So let's see if that works today. Where am I? Yeah. I hope it's correct. I don't know. Yeah, okay. So it knows, because I've said so, and the model gives back from, hey, he is looking for his location. I can do another action on it and say, show the location on a map, or do something else with it. So another handy trick since last year is SEO shortcuts for iOS and voice actions for Google. Those are system integrated, so that means that the system, you can set it up on your system, but your app can react on it. So your app can, it gets started and it gets some data with it, so you know, like, what the intent was. Unfortunately, on the Google side, the voice actions It is released, but it is very restricted. So they have determined like multiple actions that you can anticipate on, but you cannot create your own. So, for example, you can say, I want, if somebody puts in an alarm or wants to put in an alarm, you can say, okay, start my app, but you cannot start something else. For iOS, you can do every shortcut you want, and a shortcut is, I will show you later, but a shortcut is something you record yourself and then Siri will act on it. So if you say, if I say something like, who am I, which is ridiculous of course, but who am I, it will start an application for you because that's what I put in. It is largely a native site thing, but luckily for shortcuts there is already a package which not really works, but I adjusted some parts which I need to do a PR for, I guess, because it needs to work. And on the Google side there wasn't anything yet because of the restriction. It's not really that handy to use already. And another thing what we found is that it's hard to explain to users how to use it. So it's not something that that's built in directly if you install the app. You need to set that up in your settings with Siri, but I think it's getting better because you can invoke the settings, of course, from within your app. So let's see how that works. First, you need, for the Siri shortcuts, you need to do a few things. Of course, the native site, you need to install it and that it passes the data which it gets from the system to your React Native. And then what you need to do is create, as they call, an activity, which is more an Android thing, but I also have it on iOS. And what that does is you donate, as they call it, that activity to the system, and then the system knows, okay, there is a command which it wants to act on voice, wants to act on a Siri command. So that is what this above bit does, is like giving the system the know-how to act on my application. I can suggest, for example, what the invocation sound or speech would be. I can put in some user info so that if it's when it's executed, I get this user info back with me, and yeah, just donate that to, let's say, call it to the system, and I do it here, I think, just immediately, and then, like I said, with the adding a listener. If the application is fired from Siri shortcut, this will be executed, and you can do anything with it, of course. You're setting state, but you can do some other parts with it if you want to. So on iOS, it looks like this. So in the Siri, you have your shortcuts, and you can, if you want to, you can change it by recording it. You can say whatever you want, so it can be something really ridiculous, which we use at home. but usually it's, of course, I want to do this, so I want to do that. And then if you execute Siri, let's see if that works. Who's on stage? Yeah, he's too fast. That's a good question. Let's try that again. Who's on stage? And it will start the app. Oh, my ding, see my ding is off. So it knows because, of course, I put that in the user info as well. Who is it, etc. So it responds very quickly, as you can see, and it navigates to the right screen, etc. But you can do, of course, you can do whatever you want. And if you're done, you can also clear those shortcuts. But I found it a very handy way, but like I said, it's very difficult to explain to a lot of people, but it's a very easy and handy way to do voice commands and do an action, whatever it is. Let's see. Yeah. And that was it. And the last one, of course, is giving. This was an action like navigating, but you can also do voice back. So you get text and you get the voice, so the read aloud. There are different voices you can use. Usually it's tied to a language, but sometimes another language is really nice to use because it sounds really ridiculous, of course. And also, this one is on device as well, so you don't need a network connection or what, and it's really fast as well. So let's see, let's have a demo. I think let's see if he knows. I used a sheer shortcut for it, so. Who's the coolest dude in the room?
I'm not sure I understand.
He doesn't know it. Let's see, I don't know which one I do. I don't know which one. Wait, hold on. We can look it up. We can look it up. So that's what we're going to do. Is look it up. Coolest guy. Yeah, that's fine. Who's the coolest guy in the room?
I didn't get that.
Yeah. Or maybe it's who's the coolest guy? Maybe. Yeah, that's always nice. That's why I said don't try it for critical, because you're. I don't know. Yeah, coolest guy in the room. I said so. Let's try it again. Who's the coolest guy in the room?
I didn't catch that.
He's not going to today, I guess. No, wait, I will do it a different way. Or maybe you can set it again. I don't know.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah. I think it's my pronunciation, of course. What it should do, and I will make a. I've made, of course, the backup. I hope. I think the intent isn't there. What it should do is this. And I think it's pronounced very differently, of course, but. So what we've done there is, let's see. The guys from Expo already had an API for it. So what I did is include the unified modules, which are great, by the way. I use it a lot. And what I just did is say what you want to say, give it to the speak command, and give the voice, so you can give other languages or other man or female, male. So you can do a lot of nice tricks with it if you want to. So yeah. So to summarize, voices. I think the voice is getting bigger and bigger, but also it's getting really, really easy. Like you see, really easy to implement. So of course, don't use it for critical parts of your application, but just for accessibility and for support of your existing flows and things you have. So, thank you so much.